the problem nobody planned for in 2026. AI agents can now write code faster than any team on Earth can read it. Your agent produces 400 lines in 90 seconds, and then a human being has to sit there and actually check all of it. Writing code stopped being the bottleneck about a year ago. Reviewing it became the bottleneck instead. And the tools that promised to fix that, most of them cost money per seat, per month, forever. Yesterday, Alibaba open-sourced the one it uses internally, for free, Apache 2.0. And this isn't a demo project or a weekend experiment, by the company's own account. This exact tool has been the official AI code review assistant inside Alibaba Group for 2 years, serving tens of thousands of developers and flagging millions of code defects before it was ever released to the public. It shot straight onto GitHub's trending list. In the next few minutes, what it actually is, the hybrid architecture that makes it different from asking a chatbot to review your pull request. And honestly, more interesting than most AI tools I cover, the built-in rule set, how you actually run it, how it plugs directly into the coding agent you already use, the trick that makes it completely free to operate, and the honest limits. Let's get into it. Start with what it is. The project is called Open Code Review. The command is OCR. Yes, the same 3 letters as optical character recognition. So brace yourself for some confusing search results, and it's a command line tool written in Go, installable through npm in 1 line. You point it at a model endpoint. You point it at your code, and it reviews your changes. Specifically, it reads your git diff, sends the changed files to whatever language model you've configured, and produces structured review comments with line-level precision. Not "this file has issues," but line 47, "here's the problem, here's the fix." And it doesn't just squint at the diff. The agent can open the full contents of files, search across your codebase, and inspect other changed files for context before it forms an opinion. That distinction matters more than it sounds. And here's why. Because the interesting part of this release isn't that Alibaba built an AI code reviewer, it's why they say they built it this way, and to their credit, they put the reason right in the README, in a section that reads like a confession. If you've tried using a general-purpose coding agent to review a large pull request, you already know the failure mode. On big changesets, agents cut corners. They review selectively a bit of this file, a skim of that one, and quietly report back, as if they'd done the whole job. Coverage is incomplete, and worse, it's invisibly incomplete. You don't get an error. You get a confident summary of a partial review. Run it twice on the same diff, and you can get different results. For a task whose entire value is catching the thing you missed, usually thorough is a failure. So Alibaba's answer is a hybrid architecture, and this is the genuinely clever bit. Instead of one AI agent doing everything, you get 2 systems working together, deterministic pipelines plus an LLM agent. Here's the plain English version. The deterministic side is the traditional, boring, reliable half code that always does the same thing in the same order. It's what guarantees the whole changeset actually gets covered, every file, every time, regardless of size. No cutting corners, because that part isn't making judgment calls. The LLM agent is the smart contextual half. It's the thing that can read your code and say, this function assumes the list is never empty, but 3 files over, it can be judgment, understanding, nuance. Pure static analysis has been around for decades, and it's reliable but dumb. It finds pattern matches and drowns you in noise. Pure LLM review is smart but flaky. It understands your code and then forgets to look at half of it. This design says, use the deterministic machinery for coverage and consistency. Use the model for judgment. That's not a marketing distinction. That's an engineering answer to the exact reason people quietly stop trusting AI reviewers after a month. On top of that, it ships with a built-in, fine-tuned rule set targeting the specific bug classes that cause real production incidents. The named ones are null pointer exceptions, thread safety problems, cross-site scripting, and SQL injection. Notice what those 4 have in common. They're the classic, well-understood, catastrophic when-missed categories. 2 crashing corruption classes, 2 security classes. These are exactly the things you want a machine checking on every commit forever, because humans reviewing their 19th pull request of the day stop seeing them. Having them as a tuned, always-on rule set rather than hoping the model happens to notice is the difference between a safety net and a lucky catch. Now how you actually use it, because it's refreshingly simple. You go into your project and type OCR review, and it reviews everything you've changed, staged, unstaged, and untracked. Want to review a whole feature branch against main OCR review -- from main -- to your branch? A single commit, OCR review, -- commit, and the hash. 2 features tell you this came from a place with real scale. First, sessions. Big reviews take time, and if one gets interrupted, you don't start over, you list your sessions and resume exactly where it stopped. That's a feature you only build after someone's 20-minute review died at minute 19. Second, scan mode. OCR scan reviews entire files rather than a diff, no Git history required. That's for the situation every developer eventually faces. You've inherited an unfamiliar code base and you want a map of where the landmines are. Point it at the whole repo or at one directory, and let it audit. And then there's the integration that makes this genuinely fun for anyone who watched our Claude Code tutorial. Open Code Review installs into your coding agent. There's a skill you can add with a single npx command. And for Claude Code specifically, there's a plugin you install from its marketplace. After which, Review My Changes becomes a / command inside the agent you already work in. So the workflow becomes, your agent writes the code, then hands it to a specialist reviewer built by people who do this at massive scale, and you read the verdict. Generalist writes, specialist checks. That's a genuinely good architecture for how humans and agents should divide labor, and it's the same idea Alibaba applied internally. Speaking of the verdict, the output is graded into 3 buckets: high, medium, and low priority. High is obvious bugs, security issues, and clear mistakes with precise fix proposals. Medium is reasonable but context-dependent concerns. And low is, and I love that they wrote this down, likely false positives, nitpicks, and comments lacking sufficient context. A tool that explicitly labels part of its own output probably wrong, look, if you like, is being more honest than most AI products manage, and it's the thing that makes the high priority bucket worth trusting. To picture what that feels like in practice, you finish a feature, type one command, and 30 seconds later you get a grouped list. 3 high priority items with exact line numbers and suggested fixes, 5 medium ones worth a glance, and a low pile you can skim or ignore entirely. You fix the 3 that matter, you argue with 1, you dismiss the rest. That's the loop. And there's an even lazier version, a delegation mode, where you let your coding agent run the review itself and just report back to you. At that point, you're not reviewing code anymore. You're reviewing a review, which is either the future of software engineering or a slightly unsettling thought depending on your mood. And I'd genuinely like to hear which one it is for you. Now the part this channel exists for: how much does running it cost? The tool is free, Apache 2.0, no seats, no subscription, but it needs a model, and you supply that. It's compatible with OpenAI style and Anthropic style endpoints, which is where it gets interesting, because OpenAI compatible is the magic phrase we keep coming back to. That's the same interface Llama exposes on your own machine. So you can point this at a local model and get code review that is completely free, completely private, and never sends a single line of your proprietary code to anyone's server. Or route it through one of the free tier gateways we've covered and pay nothing that way. Enterprise grade review, running against a model you control for $0 a month, while the commercial equivalence bill per developer per month. That's about as clean an expression of this channel's whole thesis as I've found. So, honest limits, 3 of them. 1, it reviews, it doesn't approve. This is an assistant that surfaces issues. It is not a replacement for a human being who understands your product's intent. It'll catch a null check you forgot. It will not catch that you built the wrong feature. Keep humans on the questions that require knowing why the code exists. 2, the quality ceiling is the model you plug in. Point it at a small local model, and you'll get fast, private, decent review. Point it at a frontier model, and you'll get sharper judgment and a bill. The deterministic half stays reliable either way, but the judgment half is exactly as good as whatever brain you connected. Match the model to how much the mistake would cost you. 3, it's an agent that reads your code and calls an external service unless you've pointed it locally. So treat it like any automation with repository access. Check what it can read, what commands it runs, what credentials it needs, and read the Apache 2.0 terms before you roll it into a commercial pipeline. The code is open, which means you can check. That's the whole advantage of open source. Use it. Step back, and there are 2 patterns worth naming here. First, the bottleneck in software genuinely has moved. When generating code was hard, tools that write code were the prize. Now that generation is nearly free. The scarce resource is verification, and I'd expect the next year of tooling to be dominated by things that check, test, and audit what agents produce, rather than things that produce more of it. If you're deciding what to learn or build right now, that's the direction the puzzle piece is missing from. And second, notice the shape of the release itself. A giant tech company took a piece of internal infrastructure that quietly served tens of thousands of its own engineers for 2 years, and gave it away under a permissive license, the same pattern we've watched with open model weights all month. The free tier of professional software keeps getting better, not because anyone got generous, but because the strategic value of owning a standard now exceeds the revenue from selling a license. So here's my question, and I'll pin it below. Do you actually let AI review your code? And would you trust an automated reviewer to block a merge? Or only to leave comments a human decides on? I think that line is where the whole industry is arguing right now, and I want to know where working developers actually draw it. Every link, the repository, the install commands, the skill and plugin setup, and the license is in the description, so you can try it on your own project today. That's the standard on this channel, the real explanation sourced in plain English. If you'd rather own your tools than rent them, subscribe. That's what we do here every single day. I'll see you in the next one.